Kambosos. We're talking right now about 2-fight deal, including if Lomachenko wins, to do a rematch. I know some interest coming from Australian government. We've been talking dates. I don't know, but it's hard to say right now. But most likely end of May, June, somewhere in that area.
You are willing to go to Australia?
We're willing to go. Not just willing to go to Australia. We're willing to move Lomachenko to do camp in Australia.
Wow.
Couple months before, because that way we can guarantee the fight is happening,
right?
Because the country can be closed, can be opened, and
sure.
To go all of this. So we, if let's say the fight in May, so March, Lomachenko will be in Australia preparing for the fight. We don't have any reason why not to go there. We're including a rematch if they ask. So it's everything.
That's a huge event.
I guess if Kambosos goes a different direction, what is left then for Loma?
He's not going to retire and he's going to have all the 4 belts. That was his goal. Some weight class division, he needs to have a 4 belts. This is his right now goal, and he's going that direction.
Yeah, I really hope that fight goes. Is it out of the realm to think a Devin Haney fight, assuming that doesn't work out, as a possibility?
Yeah, well, Devin Haney, if Floyd will allow Tank Davis, Ryan Garcia, there is good names in the weight class.
Yeah, but I'm realistic. I have no faith in these young lightweights. I call them the 4 caps. People call them the kings. I don't. Loma seems to be the one guy that wants to be a fighter.
Exactly. Well, Kambosos seems to be that guy too. If he steps up and he accepts his fight.
All right. So we're going to take a deep dive into what is looking like going to be George Kambosos. Let's just, for semantics, say he's the undisputed 135-pound champion of the world, WBC franchise, WBA Super, IBF, WBO, and Ring Magazine champion. Is looking like he's getting close to a deal to fight former 3-division unified champion Vasyl Lomachenko June the 5th in Australia in the Marvel Stadium. I got my colleague Big J on the line. In the streams earlier I did this week, as you can see, February the 18th, 2022, 8:41 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm back in a groove, about to watch a live edition of Showtime Showbox with the up-and-coming prospects about to fight. Tomorrow morning, you're going to have Jorge Linares and Zaire Abdulayev, both former Devin Haney opponents, fighting from Russia. That's going to be on ESPN Plus, 9:30 a.m. Eastern. I'm going to be here covering that card. And tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern, another significant fight of the week. And just getting, little shout out and little boxing news for you. You're going to have Amir Khan taking on Kell Brook. Very exciting fight. And then, of course, later on in the night on DAZN, you're going to have Jaime Munguia taking on Demetrius Ballard. So before I bring my colleague in, let me read the show notes that we're going to be talking about this Aussie boxing breakdown. We're going to try to come up with like a more catchier name. But as it stands right now, keep it simple. Aussie boxing breakdown, Fight View 360. Episode, I guess this is like 4 or 5. We got to get the episode thing going too. February 18th. 2022 show notes. George Kambosos versus Vasyl Lomachenko CLOSE. 2-fight deal if Kambosos loses. Remember, these are just show notes. It's not supposed to really make too much sense, but you can get the gist. Egis Klimas, manager of Loma, says Loma to be in Australia in March to hold camp in case COVID restrictions lock down country. And then me and Big J are going to talk about that. Why Devin Haney is not getting the shot. Loma the bigger fight and generates more money. DAZN not willing to back Eddie Hearn on Devin Haney. What's next for Devin Haney if no Kambosos? And then we're going to dive into women's boxing a little bit. We got to touch on Mira's Briedis versus Jai Opetaia, which has been delayed. Opetaia, according to reports, has gotten sick, come down with COVID. Will the fights still happen? When? Who wins and why? Main event pay-per-view platform in Australia has some competition with the new streaming platform Stan. Yes, STAN. I wonder if that's an acronym, but we'll worry about that later. With Sonny Bill Williams versus Barry Hall card with Big J. Help me out while I'm reading these show notes. Who's on that undercard of note? It's going to be Anthony Mundine's son, and is it Tim Tszyu's brother, or Tim Tszyu's brother got his own card?
No, mate. Yeah, g'day. How you going? I hope everyone's doing all right over there. Tim Tszyu's got his own card.
Tim Tszyu's brother got his own card. Nikita, what's his name again?
Yeah, Nikita. Yeah, Nikita Tszyu's got his own card. He'll be fighting Wednesday 2nd. That'll feature the very anticipated fight between Dennis Hogan and Wade Ryan. That's an IBO eliminator. So for the IBO world title, that's an eliminator.
It's going to be Mundine's son that's on the Sonny Bill Barry Hall card, correct?
Yeah, I believe so, but I checked BoxRec this morning. He's not up there, so maybe they're waiting for an opponent or something. But I believe that it was going around that Mundine's son was going to be on CJ, I think his name is, on the Sonny Bill Barry Hall card. But that's still yet to be confirmed. But Paul Fleming, a very entertaining 130 pounder, is on that card. He's having another fight, which is good. So.
Okay, and the final show note is we're going to wrap up the video with a deep dive on what's going on with Jamel Charlo, WBC, WBA Super, IBF, and Ring Magazine. Wait, does Charlo have the ring? I believe Charlo does have the ring. Does he?
Yeah, he does. He's got WBC, WBA Super, IBF, and Ring Magazine. He's got everything but the WBO.
Ring Magazine taking on champion, taking on Brian Castano. Brian Castano has come down with a bicep injury that is sidelining him for a month, but we're going to take a deep dive into that at the end of the video. So let's go ahead and jump right into things. I got some clips here for you, and the news is it's looking like it's going to be George Kambosos versus Vasyl Lomachenko here in the States on ESPN. In fact, I'm going to play this clip before we really talk about it. So earlier today, what time is it? About 3 hours ago, 3 hours, 15 minutes ago, there was a new episode of Max on Boxing here in the States. Sports commentator, broadcaster, and boxing expert, as they call him. Max Kellerman has a show that comes on Fridays, and he had ESPN's Mike Coppinger on there, you know, the boxing guy for ESPN, basically giving an update on the fight. So take your time out, please like the video, subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at TstreeT Controversy. You can follow Big J at Old Mate Big J on Twitter. And our website, FightView360.com. Our rankings are updated monthly in accordance with the sanctioning bodies. And basically, for those who have been asking, this is our test run for the podcast that we're going to be doing soon. So, you know, right now, you know, you got to crawl before you walk. So once again, take your time out, like the video, and let me start playing this clip.
That's what we have here. You're also reporting that Vasyl Lomachenko has agreed to his side of the deal to fight lightweight champ George Kambosos Jr. in Australia. How close is the deal to being completed?
Max, also really close there as well. Yeah, like you said, Lomachenko did agree to his side, and that deal includes a rematch clause if he beats Kambosos for a second fight in Australia, which of course is very appetizing to the Kambosos side. But no matter who he fights, whether it's Lomachenko more likely or Devin Haney, Kambosos' first defense of his undisputed lightweight title is going to be June 5th in Melbourne, Australia at Marvel Stadium. That's a domed stadium because it is winter time in Australia then. And that's going to be on a Sunday afternoon to make for a prime time Saturday night, June 4th telecast. And if it's against Lomachenko, it will be on ESPN.
So, Mike, you mentioned Devin Haney. What does this mean for Devin Haney? Kambosos Lomachenko, what does it mean for Haney's immediate future?
It's not good for Devin Haney, of course. I mean, he's pushed hard for that fight. He's still hopeful. But if he's not going to land it, like I said, that's 2 fights. So Devin Haney is kind of on the sideline in the title picture until at least 2023. And he's talked a lot about moving up to 140 pounds. That's a possibility. If not, maybe he looks for a fight at 135 against a guy maybe like Miguel Burchell or someone like that on the back end, because everyone else is going to be tied up, I believe.
So Ryan Garcia is coming up in the next segment.
I do got your clip from asking about the arena, Big J, but let's talk about the fight a little bit. Now, do you feel that this is the fight that's going to be made? Do you feel Devin Haney has a chance to land Kambosos fight in the final hours of these negotiations, or do you feel like it's going to be Lomachenko?
I strongly feel now it's going to be Lomachenko. I mean, there's been a lot of movement on Twitter and a lot of movement on social media and a lot of movement in the papers. But then again, until they get in the ring and that bell goes ding, it ain't going to happen. So I don't believe any of this talk or all this bullshit that they carry on with until an official announcement is made and they get in the ring. Because we all know things can change on a dime. So I'll take the fight as it is. But it's pretty much set in stone that George wants to fight in Melbourne at Marvel Stadium on June 5th. It's just a matter of who's he going to fight. Is Loma the bigger fight? Yes, Loma's the more reputable opponent, even though Devin's got that belt, even though pretty much no one's given Devin any, what's the word I'm looking for, any respect, because he is a WBC champion, but they don't treat him like he's won. You might as well just do a Riddick bow and throw it in the trash. So, yeah, because he's not getting the affirmation that he deserves. But, it's all politics and all that crap. But I think it's going to start leaning towards Loma. But it's funny because Bob did want to set this up when Loma was champ, as you recall. He said on the record that he wants to bring Loma to Australia and fight George when Loma was the champ. Then George became the champ. Then Bob said, I got no interest. And now he's changed his mind again. But, until it happens, I stay away from all these politics and all these rumours and stuff until they get into the ring, until there's an announcement. I don't really play into it. So, but I think at the moment Loma is in, and Haney unfortunately is on the way out, which is shit in my book. So
I believe that as it stands right now, Loma is the front runner to get the fight. Loma, bigger name, not just in the States but globally. On a bigger platform, respected platform with ESPN and I'm guessing it's safe to assume that this is going to be main event, correct, over in Australia. ESPN and main event have worked together in the past. Likely, probably, more money, I'm pretty sure it's safe to say that more money, if he'll fight, if it is Lomachenko. And we should be hearing news sooner than later, because if we start seeing clips of Lomachenko over in Australia training, even if the fight's not announced, people are going to be like, okay, something is going on behind the scenes. Some contract has been signed, because if they're talking about June the 5th, they don't really have to announce anything until the end of March or maybe even the first week of April or so.
Well, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. And for those who will remember, Marvel Stadium, it was called Ettingham back then, but it was where Holly Holmes fought Ronda Rousey. So that stadium has been used before for big fights. So it's no stranger to huge combat sports. Going in June, the NRL's not doing anything. That's State of Origin. They're playing the following Wednesday, and the AFL, I believe, is having a bye round.
So you got to explain this to the American fans too, because sometimes I get a little confused. So basically, football season rules, that time of year in
Absolutely.
Australia.
Yeah, we've got two major codes in Australia. The NRL, National Rugby League, which is the rugby league. AFL, the Australian Football League, which is Aussie rules. That's our national game. Melbourne dominates, well, actually both codes, but Melbourne is an AFL city. That's where it was born and bred. But I don't think that those guys are playing that actual weekend. I think they're having a week off for some reason. The NRL certainly not, because they have their State of Origin, which is Queensland versus New South Wales, which is our most televised rugby league event, on the yearly calendar. But that's happening up in Sydney the following Wednesday, so that shouldn't affect it. So, but if they're going up against the AFL in the MCG, which is just around the corner, the next suburb over, I think it's Collingwood playing Carlton, which are one of the two most popular teams in the AFL. They'll get 100,000 there easy, and getting 60 or 50,000 people to watch George is going to be a tall order. So they can't go up against the AFL.
Regarding, before I ask you this question, let me play this clip of you talking to George Kambosos from a media Zoom call that happened back in, what was that, October or November of 2020, whenever he fought Lee Selby.
It was building up to Lee Selby.
I'm playing a clip right now. Once again, take your time out, like the video, subscribe. Follow us on Twitter, me at TStreet Controversy, and Big J at Old Mate, Big J, simple OLDMATE, BIGJ. Boom.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, mate. So once you get past, you'll be number one.
Wait, but was it before this, Big J? It was your first question. Let me just play your whole segment of questions, and we'll just go from there because you did.
I think it's right where you have it is where it was. That question's coming up.
You need to make a big impact on this because the race is on in Australian boxing at the moment. Things are looking pretty good. So, what are you going to do to get up with the likes of the Maloney twins with their potential fights?
Look, this is a huge fight. It's a all-time eliminator, and obviously we all know what's after this. A unified title fight. So this, on my behalf, is huge for Australian boxing. We know what we've been doing. We're fighting for world champions and we're chasing world champions. And I'm here to make a massive statement against Lee Selby. There's a lot of holes in his game, and we're here to expose every single one of them. I'm not going to tell you what our game plan is, but it's going to be a painful boxing lesson for Lee Selby.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, mate. So once you get past, you'll be number one contender for Lopez. Is there a plan to bring that fight out to Australia, considering that there was publications that Bob Arum was going to have you to fight Lomachenko pre-COVID, and knowing that Australia is pretty much the only country at the moment that get half-decent crowds?
You tell me, 60,000, 70,000 people in a stadium in Australia? Tell me it doesn't make sense? When I'm mandatory, I think it makes sense for everybody. Personally, I love Marvel Stadium. Melbourne would be fantastic, but again, it depends how they're going. But look, I'm a Sydney boy, and ANZ Stadium would be massive. Fill it out. It's all there. It's all there for the taking. And when I do the business this Saturday against Lee Selby, that will be the next one. I'm very confident in that.
So tell me, how much does this stadium seat, and how many do you predict will be in attendance? What's your number? How many do you think is going to be in attendance?
Well, let me see. That stadium, I think, seats 55,000. That's how much they got at Ronda versus Holly. What do I think he'll get? Let's be honest here. Maybe he could get, if he's going up against the AFL the same day and there's a game at the MCG, he won't get it. Yeah, good luck with that. But if he's not going up against the AFL, he might get, I reckon, around 40. Because there's a very big Greek. There's a big Greek community in remember when the Australian Open was on, he was there, dancing around with all these fans. There's a very large Greek community in Melbourne, and there's boxing fans, and every man and his dog will jump on it. But as long as there's nothing else to go up against it, it should be a good sell. But once again, they need to promote the absolute daylights out of it and let people know it's actually happening. Like, they wouldn't be able to sell it out in 2 weeks. They need 2 months to tell everyone it's happening. So, because Melbourne's like New York, there's a lot going on at all. There's a lot of moving pieces. It's not just a one sport town. There's always something going on. So, But I think it's hard to tell. But hopefully he can get 40 there. I don't see him sell. If he does, great. But I don't see it. It's going to be a pretty hard sell.
And the buzz, do you how does Loma's name ring over there?
Loma's name's certainly a lot better than Devin Haney's.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hardcore boxing fans, obviously they know more about Loma than they know about Devin.
Yeah.
Because they don't really fighting Devin just for the pure status. Loma is a well more established, well more popular opponent. He's got a lot bigger name. And if they get the Maloney twins on the undercard and a few other, people that they can get on there, great. Loma is a far more significant name in the boxing world. But you got to remember that George is still not a household name in Australian boxing. So that's the other thing. They've actually got to get George out there. So, he's known here, he's known there, but if you were to walk, down the street and ask, old mate, a picture of George, I probably know who he was. So.
All right. So let's get to the nitty gritty of it. Me personally, here in the States, it's going to be, for those who don't know, or if you haven't, even though it's taking place in Australia, it's going to be an afternoon fight over there. Here, it's going to still be prime time. Here in the States, I'm Loma versus Kambosos for undisputed. it is going to have some weight to it. I'm predicting the fight is going to be viewed well here on American television, especially with Kambosos' name being has risen, and Kambosos will be co-promoted by Top Rank. So Top Rank is also going to throw in how Teofimo had defeated Lomachenko, and basically I'm expecting the build up to be humongous. And as we've seen, Lomachenko can be pretty cocky, and he's going to feel that he's owed this, and I'm expecting for him to feel entitled and to talk some real smug, act real smug towards Kambosos. And Kambosos, well, he's a very motivated guy. And remember, he told Tszyu to his face, like, them belts are coming back home with me. Them belts cursed you or whatever. Basically, it was some hardcore shit. So right now, I'm thinking that the fight's going to do, well for American television. And I'm going to go ahead and say to lead into the next topic is Lomachenko has seen probably 1,000 George Kambososes. I'm expecting for Lomachenko, and I like George, I do. We're still hoping to get him on the channel. I like George, I do. But skills pay the bills. Now, when it comes to Teofimo Lopez, let's go ahead and talk about it. Teofimo Lopez, and I understand that people don't like excuses, but we got to call it like it is. Teofimo Lopez had some issues with his esophagus or whatever was going on. So had some outside of the ring issues. Going into the fight, I predicted and thought to myself, if Teofimo loses, he's going to lose because of outside of the ring. Now, one thing I can say is that from what I've learned from Kambosos, which a lot of us was waiting to see, how he would look if he really stepped up in competition. He's got the dog in him. He can fight, and he's got heart, and he's got some skill. He can box. So I would still pick him slightly in a rematch to defeat Teofimo from what we've seen so far. But let's be honest, a lot of us didn't expect for him to look the way he did and for him to beat the shit out of Teofimo the way he did. So can he do it to Lomachenko? Me personally, I don't think so, especially with what Lomachenko did to Nakatani, what Lomachenko did to Richard Comey. Even though he didn't knock out Richard Comey, early, he still put a beating on both of them dudes. A beating that Teofimo didn't do. Well, he did knock him out. But what are your thoughts? How does George Kambosos win this fight?
Same way he beat Lopez, rushing from the opening bell. Even though George sat Lopez on his ass in that first round, that changed that entire fight.
He did.
I sent you a message after that first round. I said, George is going to win this.
He did.
Up until he knocked him on his ass, I was what, 55-45 that George was probably going to hang in there but still narrowly lose. After that one punch, I'm like, George has got this. So I think that George is going to rush him, and all George needs to do is gut punch him, and then Loma will be on the back foot, just like he was against Lopez. Loma can't fight on the back foot. George will rush him. Remember, George is a lot younger. He's in his prime. Loma's 33 now. He's had a few. He's coming off of surgery. He's had a few battles. Yeah, he beat Richard Comey, but Richard Comey, how old is he? 37? At the arse end of his career?
No, yeah, he's
coming off
up
a bad
there. He's not
knockout.
37, no, but he's up there.
Yeah, so at the arse end of his career, coming off a bad
Richard
two-round
Comey's
knockout.
34 years old.
Okay, 34. Okay, so still at the arse end of his prime. And so is Loma. Loma's not, he's at the arse end of his prime. George is a hungry dog, as you like to say. He's got a lot of mongrel in him, and he ain't going to give up those belts easily. I can guarantee you that. So Loma outskills him, yeah, sure, old. But George outrushes him.
And Loma is 34 years old.
Yeah, I thought it was only 33. Okay, he must have had a birthday recently. But I think. Oh, happy birthday to him from everyone here at FV360. Happy birthday to him. I think that Loma, now because of his age, is certainly coming to a time where he's past his prime, where George is right in the thick of it. And George knows what he needs to do to beat him. You think George is going to fuck around him? That's not for a second. You don't see George out carrying on like a pork chop. He's in the gym every time he's a post. It's in the gym. So. Yeah, I think George is now going to be the new king of, or emperor, whatever he wants to call himself, of the lightweight division for a good 3 or 4 years until maybe Tank gets a hold of him. But we'll see what happens. But I think he can beat Loma. Not convincingly. I'm not going to say he's going to knock him out in 3 rounds. Bullshit. It's going to be a long, hard fight, and I think he'll get him on points.
So you think he can outbox Lomachenko?
I think he can outpower him and put him on the back foot just like Lopez did. Yeah, that's what I think he can do. So he's got to rush him from the first opening round, hit him in the guts just like Lopez did, and scare him off. That's what he's got to do. Just like he said against Lopez. What do? Throw the best right hand you ever did right in the first round.
Yeah,
that's what he's got to do. He might even knock him on his ass.
Yeah.
He might even knock him on his ass. That'll change the whole fight if he knocks him on his ass. He knocked Lopez down. There's nothing saying he can't fight like Lomachenko. Has Loma ever been knocked on his ass?
I believe he did. I don't see it. So far, actually, yes, against Jorge Linares, he was down twice. He was down, Jorge Linares, he was down once in round 6 of the box rec.
Okay. And Jorge Linares, isn't that the bloke that Haney just fought recently? Is that right?
Yep, Jorge Linares is the one that rocked Devin Haney. Jorge Linares is also fighting tomorrow morning, by the way. Actually, his card starts on ESPN Plus 12.5 hours from now. I'm going to be covering that.
How did you rate this Jorge Linares bloke? He's not world champion material.
No, gatekeeper-ish.
Okay, so if that bloke can knock Loma on his ass, what do you think George is going to do?
Yeah, and I would pick George Kambosos to beat Jorge Linares.
Well, there you go. So you see how you study the evidence. It's starting to mount up. George is, he's got the advantage. That's just my opinion. I mean, I know yours is different. That's fine. Yeah. But that's just my opinion. He's younger. He's stronger. He's got a shitload of mongrel in him. And he ain't going to give up those belts easy. No fucking way. I think you'll get him on points in a very, very hard fight. It's not going to be an easy fight. I think you'll get him on points in a very, very tough, hard, grueling 12 rounds, in my opinion.
So here's the way it's looking right now in the 135-pound division before we move on. Let's just say now this is, of course, if Kambosos Loma does happen. That's a 2-fight deal. So let's just focus on what's going on right now, with the results of the first fight not being in yet. Devin Haney is in need of an opponent. Ryan Garcia, he's returning to face Emmanuel Tagu. Gervonta Tank Davis is facing Rolly Romero. And what Mike Coppinger also said on Max on Boxing is that Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis could possibly be fighting in the fall. So if both of them win their next fights, then that's their fights for 2022. So that's 4 fighters right now in the 135-pound division that are potentially tied up for the year of 2022. Eastside Cruz, who fought Tank Davis on pay-per-view, is fighting. It's rumored that he's going to be fighting on the undercard of Spence versus Ugas. That is April the 16th or the 12th. I forgot the exact date. Against Yurkis Gamboa. And as we talked about, number 4 and number 7 ranked by the WBC, also in other sanctioning bodies, Jai Opetaia and Jorge Linares, who both Devin Haney beat, by the way, are fighting tomorrow morning. So right now, if Devin Haney doesn't get this fight, he might as well just bend that WBC belt and move up to 140 pounds because he's in the real tough spot. Now, unless George Kambosos beats, and in my opinion, he won't, but let's say if he does beat Lomachenko, then I don't expect for them to have another fight unless it's like super close, because at the end of the day, there's still that 2-fight deal. Let's say Kambosos beat Lomachenko so convincingly that Lomachenko doesn't want a rematch, then we could possibly see George Kambosos versus Devin Haney later on this year. But the way things are looking is not looking good, and a lot of hardcore fans are upset with George Kambosos for basically gaslighting and leading the fans on that he was going to be a man about, the belts and the people and fight Devin Haney. That's what's going around now. So to be honest, which fight would you have rather preferred to wrap this up before we move to the next subject? Him versus Haney to clear up the undisputed, or Lomachenko?
Yeah, Devin. I think because of all the promotion they did, all that stuff that they did, you know, they were standing next to each other against, was it Tank's fight or someone's fight, whenever it was last year. No worries, mate, come to Australia, we'll beat the shit out of each other, you know, shook hands, all that sort of stuff. They put a lot of build-up into it, a lot of hype around it, and then I don't think it's fair for people to blame George personally, because there's a lot of politics and background stuff that, you know, people don't know about it. And it's unfair. Because remember the boxers say each and every time, who are you going to fight next? Oh, that's up to my team. Well, then don't blame the boxer.
Yeah, but come on, George was making it seem like he like Devin Haney was the target.
Yeah, that's true. And Devin Haney should be the target because, you know, I mean, of that belt. But there's so many outside factors. I'm a little pissed off because as much as I like Loma, I would have preferred it should have went Devin, Loma, Tank, and then that Ryan Garcia bloke he kept winning. So that would have been the way I would have seen it happen. But yeah, I'm a little bit frustrated that Devin's not going to fight Kambosos, but nothing's been official yet. So, but you know, we'll just wait and see. But you know, they might throw that last second Hail Mary, and you know, who knows what's going to happen. But I was really looking forward to Devin Haney, but you know, we'll just have, if it's Loma, it's Loma. So,
well, we can both acknowledge that the Loma fight is a better fight, marketing, money, and you know, on paper it's a better fight.
Level, on paper it's a 10 times better fight. No one can argue that. Lomachenko's a far more established champion. I mean, you know, he's the frigging GOAT amateur. So, you know, he's the amateur bloody GOAT. So you can't,
arguably the best amateur fighter of all time.
Yeah, and it's better that he fights him now because in 2 years' time he'll be too old. They'll be pointless.
Yeah.
So
people will say he fought him when he's too old. Yeah, I get you.
Yeah. What's Devin? He's a young fella. What's he, under 25 or some shit?
Devin Haney is 25, I believe.
Oh, fuck, he's
I'm
a kid.
Right now. No, excuse me. Devin Haney's 23. He's still...
Oh, he's a baby.
Yeah,
he's
pretty much.
He's a fucking baby.
Yeah.
He's plenty of time for that.
All right. So, on to the next subject. Take your time out. Like the video. Subscribe.
I'm Ebanie Bridges, aka the Blonde Bomber, and I'm a professional boxer. When everyone tries to tell me what to do and who to be, I'm just like, don't tell me what to do and who to be, because this is me.
No, I sold my dirty training socks for $1,000.
What a boss bitch.
What am I most afraid of? Definitely fire and getting burned. Not gonna be good.
Go! Faster! Move!
I'm doing this to see if I can be broken, to push my pain threshold, and to show that women can be tough too.
Why are you so hard on yourself?
Because I'm trying, man, like fucking trying.
I'm fucking excited to get on this course and just absolutely smash it, push myself to my limits and get through selection.
Okay, Big J, you've been talking about this show. Explain to us what this is. Ebanie Bridges on fire and crying. I want to see this.
Yeah, it's SAS Australia, right? It's a reality TV show where celebrities do a sort of like a dumbed down version of SAS, which is Special Australian Forces, which is run by, they have SAS in England as well, which is Special Aerial Squadron. You know, it's sort of like special forces for the military, and they dumb it down because the real thing they wouldn't last a day. And that's speaking as a former military man myself, so I know what it entails. But it's basically a reality TV show where celebrities go on and put through their paces and see if they can do, you know, what it takes to be a, you know, SAS soldier. Dumbed down, of course. Dumbed way down. So
gotcha.
And Barry Hall and Mick Zarafa's also on the show. It starts Monday night, I think 7:30 on Channel 7. Right.
Gotcha.
This Monday coming. Yeah. So
basically, for the next 10 minutes until we move on to what's going on with Jamel Charlo, Castano, Tszyu in the 154-pound division, that right now has gotten really cloudy. We're going to pretty much go over just basically what's going on in Australian boxing as a whole. So let's start with the Maloney brothers. We didn't really get a chance to mention it during our Kambosos Loma section. But what are the chances of them ending up on the Kambosos Loma card, their own card, or, you know, how's that looking?
Well, pretty good considering they're both top-ranked fighters. I mean, Jason's just been named number 2 in the WBO rankings at 118. Not quite sure what's going on with Andrew. He is in the WBO rankings as well, but I think he's in the bottom 15. I think he's maybe 8. I mean, it might even be as high as 8. I'm not quite sure. Jason's. There's a thing on Twitter where his manager said that he's now ranked number 2. Champion still Casemiro, but hasn't Casemiro done something stupid or something?
Unfortunately, I'm going to be very careful in what I'm saying, but allegedly, news is coming out that John Real Casemiro has fled the Philippines, and something involving something allegedly with a minor. So we're still waiting on.
I did hear that there was allegations of something in the Philippines.
Yeah, very ugly situation.
That's as much as I want to comment on that.
Yeah.
So, but forget about Casemiro. Jason, he's number 2, WBO. Who's number 1? Is it still that Kai bloke, or who's the number 1 contender?
Number 1 at 115, you mean?
No, 118.
Oh, Paul Butler.
Jason. Oh, that's because
Paul Butler and
Casemiro
are supposed to be fighting.
That's right. But if
we're waiting on news for that. Like that's supposed to be the fight that's supposed to be happening. And the WBA and IBF champion is Naoya Inoue, and WBC is Nonito Donaire, who defeated his mandatory Raymart Gaballo about a month and a half ago or whenever. So we're still waiting on, what's going to go on. Basically, the division is tied up. We got to, wait to see what's going on with Casemiro.
Jason it wasn't the last video we talked about the Lions. Wasn't Jason supposed to fight the number 1 contender, the Thailand bloke? What the number 1 WBC? What's his name? He was supposed to fight. I think he was supposed to fight.
We were butchering his name, but we did talk about that. That was a possible, but it's not listed, and there's no news going on with that right now.
No. Yeah, because when I last spoke to Andrew last year, that's what he said was possibly going to happen for his brother. So that would still be a good fight that they could put on the undercard, a number 1 contender fight.
Yeah, did you go title eliminator?
Yeah, exactly. So Jason's got options with the WBO and the WBC. Andrew, he's ranked a bit lower down in the WBO. Not quite sure what's going on. He had a fight, when was it? December 21 last year, to get clean out the cobwebs, get his confidence back up. So he'll be looking for another fight too. But considering that both those fellas are top-ranked fighters, and if George fights Lomachenko, them being on the undercard, that would be pretty much a given, you'd think, wouldn't you? Yeah. Well, wouldn't they put him on the cards? Easy. So
we got next on the docket, Dempsey McKean, 20-0 with 13 KOs, 31 years old, from Queensland, Australia. He's fighting Ariel Esteban Bracamonte. That is going to be on the undercard of Lawrence O'Colly versus Michael Cieslak, February the 27th, just about a week or so from now. And by the way, that arena where they're supposed to be fighting, there's some big storm that's been going on in the UK, and the roof has got ripped off. So, let's just hope that card goes through. This Ariel Esteban Bracamonte, 11-6 with 6 KOs from Argentina, 29 years old. Not one single person on the resume that I've heard of. Okay, he fought Dave Allen. He's from the UK, but that's about it. So they're taking Dempsey McKean, giving him a nice soft touch after not looking good in his last fight against Adon Hainsworth. They kind of dialed him back a little bit. Looking at McKean right now, let me see where he's ranked at heavyweight. He is
top 15. I think he's 13. IBF WBO. I think he's 13 apiece.
Yeah, he's 11 by the WBO, and the IBF he is number 12, not ranked by the WBC or WBF. From what I've seen so far, he's got a lot to work on, and I'm going to say right now, I hate to be harsh like this, but looking at the way the heavyweight division is in the top, 5, 6, he can't beat those guys. He's got some work to do.
Oh, hell no.
But he's 31 years old, so they got to come up with something.
Yeah, I'd like to see him fight Otto Wallin personally.
Yeah, there you go. Otto Wallin, he didn't look good in his last fight, but he's had a nice layoff. But yeah, next, Jai Opetaia. Him and Briedis were supposed to fight for the IBF title at Cruiserweight, but Briedis, who's been lobbying for a Jake Paul fight, who's recently purchased 800,000 Instagram bots to make himself seem more popular, who's got a tattoo of Jake Paul on his leg, who did a music rap video to try to lure Jake Paul out. All of a sudden, he's come down with COVID. And he's not going to be available to fight Jai Opetaia in April. So we pretty much already did a deep dive on this fight. And, you know, I my opinion still stands. Briedis, you know, would have his way with Opetaia.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And fuck off, he's going to get this Jake Paul fight. That's bloody delusional bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what you know, he's really trying his hardest to get it. And, you know, all of a sudden, he gets this COVID, and it's pretty convenient to me.
Yeah, I mean, Briedis would fucking decapitate Jake Paul. So, yeah, fuck off. That's not happening. I shouldn't be swearing that much, but that's just delusional.
Yeah. So,
yep, next. Well, that fight will happen. If it does happen, delayed will happen on the Gold Coast, which is a good venue. So I'm really looking forward to that.
So, Sonny Bill Williams versus Barry Hall. Anything new going on with that?
No, the undercard's got a couple of fights on it. Paul Fleming's on the card, and there's another fight. I should have brought that up.
Yeah, I got it. It says Michael Hall versus Mitchell Stapleton. It's 3 fights nice so far on BoxRec.
Yeah, it's a nice little domestic welterweight fight. And also, if we're correct, Mundine's son CJ, I believe, should be debuting against. They haven't got an opponent yet, but I don't know what's happening with that. I haven't heard any news, but hopefully his son is on the card so we can get another Mundine in there. And I'm pretty confident that Mundine will be in Sonny Bill's corner because they've been mates for a very, very long time. Okay. So,
and Sonny Bill has been training with Tyson Fury and Joseph Parker.
And Joseph Parker, yeah. So that I was thinking at first that Barry is going to knock Sonny Bill's head off because, you know, but I don't know. I mean, Barry's like in his mid-40s. Sonny hasn't fought in a long time. I mean, this fight is 10 years too fucking late. It's like Amir Khan versus bloody Kell Brook. It's far too late. But I don't know which way to go because if this was 10, 15 years ago, it would be great. But now it's like, Jesus, really? But I don't know. I have to give the advantage to Sonny because of who's he's training with because I don't know what Barry's up to. Barry was also on that SAS show with Ebony and Michael Zarafa. But yeah, I think that Sonny Bill, then again, it's a Danny Green card, and the last Danny Green card was a draw. I don't know. We'll just have to take it. No expectations, no disappointments. That's what I'm going with this. Yeah. No expectations, no disappointments.
Any quick hits before we move on to the last topic? Charlo, Castano, Tszyu. Anybody we missed?
His brother's fight. No, we mentioned that. His brother's fighting March 2nd. He's got his debut. Dennis Hogan, Wade Ryan for the IBR
What's
Eliminator.
His name? Is it Nikita?
Liam Wilson. Yeah, Nikita Tszyu.
Okay.
Liam Wilson, to his credit, is in a rematch with the bloke that knocked him out. I can't remember his name, the Filipino fella that knocked him out last fight. And surprisingly enough, we haven't touched on this, but Brock Jarvis is also going after that Mexican bloke that almost knocked his head off on his debut, which I find really confusing. Why would he do that? I've spoken to you about that before.
Yeah.
What was that bloke's Alexandri something? What's the bloke's name that Brock last fought? We'll touch on this for a second. Can you bring it up, please?
Yeah, I'm pulling it up.
Thank you.
Alejandro Farias.
That's it.
That was
if you go back and watch that,
of 2021. That was
if you go back and watch that fight,
undercard of Mikey Garcia versus Sandor Martin, the upset.
Yeah. If you go back and watch that card, Brock almost got taken out. He almost got knocked out. I mean, he pushed through. He survived the round. He come back and he won. But why would you go back and fight someone that you knocked out in under 4 rounds? I don't see why he would do that. Why not just move on to someone else?
Trying to make sure that it's non-controversial. But yeah, many young fighters would have just moved on and been like, you know what, I'm done with it. But we got this clip here from the promoter. Is George Rose the promoter, right? Not the manager. He's the promoter of Tszyu, right?
Yeah, the promoters are George and Matt Rose. The manager is Glenn Jennings.
All right, let's play this clip here. To put things into context, Brian Castano, WBO champion, is injured. He got a bicep injury. He wants to postpone the fight. What was the date? Was it supposed to be March the 6th? Originally? For
March 19th.
Castano?
March 19th.
March the 19th, it was supposed to be
March 19th.
Charlo versus Castano 2 for Undisputed. The last fight happened last July, 2021. And Castano has come down with a bicep injury. The WBO, basically because of Tszyu and his team, wanted Castano to show cause, or basically show us proof of your injury if you want this fight to be pushed back. Castano and his team wants the fight to take place in April. We haven't heard anything from Charlo. The sanctioning bodies are all up. So here, let me play this clip and let them explain it to you from ESPN first before we listen to George Rose. Here's what they said on Maximum Boxing earlier today, and it'll make more sense.
Crazy fast twitchies and crazy power. So, Mike, the Jermell Charlo-Brian Castano rematch for all the belts at 154 was supposed to happen March 19th. It was coming right up. But Castano had to withdraw due to a partially torn right bicep. When is he healthy? Like, when are we going to see these two get back in the ring?
I'm told that Castano is still training. Of course, he's not using his right arm, but he's still training in the gym. He suffered the injury in sparring, and I'm told he's going to be out at least 4 weeks. So rematch at end of April at the earliest, I would say. But there are complications because we're talking about 4 titles here. That's 4 sanctioning bodies to deal with, and they had to put off a lot of mandatories just to make the first fight in July of last year, and that was an excellent fight. And then they had to go through the same thing again, talking to the sanctioning bodies, pushing off the mandatories. And right now, Tszyu, the son of Hall of Famer Tszyu, is pushing for his mandatory shot. He was supposed to fight Tyrell Gaucher on the undercard of that fight. So we're going to have to wait and see what happens.
Yeah, hey, Tim, you can wait another month. A month's not going to kill anybody. Come on.
Now, I'm going to play this clip from the promoter, George Rose, of Tszyu that he did a few days ago.
In LA for Tim's first expedition over to the US, and then the recent news with what's happened with Castano, it's thrown all of that into disarray. So apparently Castano's been injured and unavailable to fight on the March 19 set date. That was there, Tim's the mandatory challenger still for the WBO, and that fight was meant to take place by early February, and because the unification bout was going to take place, we allowed for that to be extended and for that fight to happen. And then now that this has happened, we're looking to push for that opportunity to take the place of Castano. Tszyu has been in a training camp already for the last 7 odd weeks, and he said he's happy to put his hand up to save the show and step in against Jermell Charlo.
Well, to that point, we have seen the tweet from the president of the WBO. It seems to suggest this unification bout between Castano and Charlo will not be rescheduled. Firstly, your take on that, and just to underline the thought of Tim, he thinks he can step in.
Well, look, it's really important for us. We've been campaigning in the WBO for quite a long time. Tim's proudly represents the WBO in every one of his fights. He's a global champion, and he's one of the most active fighters in boxing, in world boxing. So for Tim, he's been waiting for this opportunity. He stayed busy. He kept active. He kept fighting, kept defending, and he's ready for that mandatory challenge. And it's great that the WBO is supportive of that because Tim's ready to go. Tim's ready to fight, and he's one of them special fighters who will fight anyone, anywhere, anytime. And if that means that he takes a position of Castano against Charlo, he's ready to go. He's ready to fight in LA. He's ready to fight anywhere to make this happen.
Realistically, though, George, what's the chances? What have the WBO said to you already?
The conversations have been positive so far. Obviously, the injury is very fresh, so it's only just happened. There's still a lot for them to consider at the moment, but for us, we will keep pushing, keep campaigning for Tim to be the next WBO champion. And as soon as he gets that opportunity, I know he's going to be the next champion.
All right, stop it there.
So what's your thoughts on this, Big J?
Well, when George Rose said that Tim will fight anyone, anywhere, anytime, yeah, right. He's never fought out of Australia, so you can't make that claim. That's completely false. And I think people are forgetting, they said it 3 times, he's a mandatory to Castano, not Charlo. Charlo doesn't have to do a damn thing concerning Tszyu. Charlo can just go, here's your ticket, son, wait in line, there's about 4 people ahead of you. Charlo doesn't have to do a damn thing in regards to Tszyu. And he's not going to fight Tszyu because Martinez, the IBF mandatory, is in front of him. So Tszyu has no claim to fight Charlo. I mean, ranked 3rd in the WBC? I don't think he's ranked in the WBA, and he's ranked the 3rd IBF.
Let me read Tszyu's particulars here. Tszyu is ranked number 3 by the WBC. He is not ranked by the WBA, number 3 by the IBF, and number 1 by the WBO. And remember, we both disputed that he shouldn't have been even mandatory over Cabanov by the WBO, but they chose him, for whatever reasons.
Yeah, I'm still disputing that because at least Cabanov's got a victory over Liam Smith, who's a former WBO champ, and he's going to fight Trexerica. So he has a lot stronger case of what Tszyu does. But anyway, that's neither here nor there.
20-0 with 15 KOs, 27 years old. Last fight, Tashi Inoue, Steve Spark, then it's Hogan, who we got an interview we're going to be uploading. Bowen Morgan, Jeff Horn, and then before that, Jack Brubaker. And pretty much nothing of any relevance before that.
Dwight Ritchie was a pretty relevant fight. He was well ranked at the time. So he wants to
basically jump the line over, Murtazaliev, who is the mandatory, who is by right the number 1 guy. He wants to just jump the line to fight Charlo of all.
And
not Castano. You don't want to. He's not saying, okay, well, when Castano gets uninjured, I want to fight him. He wants to go after all the other 3 belts in which he's not even, mandatory for.
Yeah, that's not going to happen unless Charlo wants to have an easy defense of his belts, because Charlo wouldn't take very long to clean him up. So, yeah, I think that's a little bit delusional by their team. It's like, he's not going to get Charlo. They've been saying, remember the video that we did, when was that, about a year ago, where Charlo said, yeah, sorry, mate, ain't going to happen? Remember that video we did a while back? Yeah. I mean, Charlo's not going to fight Tszyu unless he's a mandatory for the WBC or the IBF, and that's not going to happen. I mean, Murtazaliev is number 1 contender IBF. He's the first in line to fight Charlo. And then you've got Erickson Lubin's got to fight Sebastian Fedor for the number 2 spot.
Yeah. And then you got Israel Madrimov. Israel Madrimov is the WBA mandatory. So Charlo has 3. Tszyu is not. He can't just jump the line unless Charlo chooses him.
Number 5.
But Charlo can't choose him because Charlo's got the mandatory obligations.
Exactly. The IBF's not going to let
Charlo has no voluntaries. He can't fight any voluntaries.
Exactly. It's mandatories only. And Murtazaliev's first in line. And wasn't Murtazaliev supposed to fight on that same card?
Yeah, Murtazaliev, that's the news that was coming out, is that the undercard was going to feature Charlo versus Castano, Tszyu versus Terrell Goucher, Bakar and Murtazaliev versus, whoever he was going to fight.
Yeah, well, as I said, why can't they just wait a month? The fight will be delayed a month, and it'll just happen.
This goes to say and show. Listen, Tszyu should fight Murtazaliev. Well, how long have we been going on with that? Yeah,
we've been saying that for 6 fucking months.
Fight Murtazaliev.
Exactly. Don't worry about this Terrell Goucher bloke. No disrespect to him. But I mean, I know Tim doesn't want to risk his number 1 status, which is fair enough. But fight Murtazaliev. When's the last time Murtazaliev fought? Like a year ago? He was on the last undercard.
Charlo Castano 1 undercard.
Well, there you go. Well, that's a fair.
And he's been mandatory for at least 2 years, at least.
I'm surprised the IBF let it carry on that long. I'm surprised the IBF didn't make Charlo fight him earlier.
Yeah, but that's what they were talking about on ESPN, how difficult it is for the fight to go ahead, because of the mandatories, and the sanctioning bodies came together and said, all right, we're going to let it go through. And now you have Tszyu trying to jump the line. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, logically, basically with the politics and the belts, it does not make sense. Like, it can't happen.
No, it's not going to happen.
He can't
there's
just
no
jump
way
in.
that
that would be a lawsuit. Yeah. He can't just jump in like that and just get a title shot for all 3 belts.
Yeah, considering he has no claim to either one of them.
Yeah.
So he's got to claim the WBO, but not the other three, not even close.
So we did talk about, you did get a chance to talk to Dennis Hogan, and we're going to be uploading the interview. Here is my question. You know, who do you think Tszyu has a better chance against? Jermell Charlo or Brian Castano?
I think I remember if I talked to Dennis, he said he wouldn't have a chance against either of them. So, and I'm the same.
The better chance.
But I think the better chance probably, I think he nitpicker said it might have been Charlo.
Yeah.
Style-wise, Charlo's a better fight for him. A lot of people have been saying that, if I remember. I mean, this interview was a week and a half ago now, so I think he said that, but I do remember, I'm pretty sure that he said he wouldn't win against either of them, but Charlo would probably be style-wise.
Because
I said on the record many times, I don't think he'd beat either of them.
Yeah, I don't think he can beat either of them because the pressure of Castano would just be too much. And just the power and the boxing ability of Charlo, you know, and the experience, you know, that he has would just be too much. I just don't think he has a chance.
Not at this stage. I mean, if he fought, you know, if he beat Murtazaliev, if he beat Kabanov, if he beat Erickson Lubin, yeah, sure, then you could say, yeah, he's got a really good chance. But at the moment, no. It's very, very slim.
We'll know something in the next couple of weeks since we're short on time. We will definitely know something in the next couple of weeks because the WBO wants this to be resolved. And as you can see, you know, you got, as you call him, Tszyu the Vulture circling around. And, you know, the other mandatories in the division and the other ranked fighters are looking at this like, hold up, like, what's going on? You know, like, is this fight going to happen or not? I want my shot. So, closing thoughts on Charlo Castano, the Tszyu situation?
Well, just wait a month. I think they'll just put it back a month. They'll have the fight there. You know, Murtazaliev will fight whomever. Tim will still fight this Goucher bloke. And yeah, hopefully Tim can make a pretty big statement that, you know, I don't think he's ready for a title fight, not yet. But even if he, you know, makes a good statement against this Goucher bloke, then he can, you know, have a number one contender spot against what's the old mate's name, Murtazaliev. Yeah. Or Murtazaliev fights Charlo. It's like, I think Charlo Castano will probably go to a trilogy. I just have a gut feeling about that. So I think, you know, regardless who wins, they'll probably do it again because the first one was a draw. So that's just my opinion. I think they're going to have to handle mandatory obligations before they do it again. If it is a third fight, they would have to have an interim against their mandatories and get that out of the way and then win those before there was a third fight. Yeah. Well, I really want to see Tszyu fight this Murtazaliev bloke, even for an interim title. I think that should be the way to go because that way the winner is guaranteed the winner of Charlo Castano too. But anyway, all right, we'll see what happens.
Well, we're going to wrap up right there and see you guys in a couple of weeks with the latest in Australian boxing news. Take your time out, like the video, and comment down below if there's any other Australian boxing topics you wanted to talk about. We're going to try to make sure we keep the content fresh every video that we do on Aussie boxing content, and expect for us to be ramping up our coverage in Australian boxing and getting to Australian boxing events. So we will keep you updated on that. Please take your time out. It really means a lot if you like the video, subscribe, and thank you for watching, and we will be seeing you soon.